Okay, I'll admit it. The trailer was pretty crazy. Really ambitious. But I've been in this gacha black hole now for years. I played Genshin, Honkai, ZZZ, Wuwa, all of them day one. I've re-rolled for over 48 hours for Max Limit Break Kita-san Black in Uma Musume. And I even spent time multi-boxing for the Piper Scarlet Gigastar in Nikke. Hell, I've even played AFK Arena and that terrible solo leveling gacha. I've spent thousands and thousands of hours and dollars on these games. I've been in the trenches and I've seen it all. So when I see something that comes along which has everybody umming and ahhing, saying that this could be the next Genshin, the next game to take that coveted rank 1 on the monthly gacha earnings report, I have to approach the game with quite a lot of skepticism. The biggest drawing point at the moment for this game is that the scope seems practically infinite. From the trailer alone, you can see it takes no liberties in wearing its influences on its sleeve. It's GTA, Cyberpunk, Spiderman, Watch Dogs, Intoy of whatever that roleplay game is, and it even has those massive action set pieces from games like Uncharted. On the surface, a game with such a massive scope may seem like a good thing. The idea of taking all the best parts from the most successful franchises in gaming and then slapping in anime characters? That might actually be the recipe to the greatest game of all time. But let's be honest here, there's a reason why in over a decade there have been no Skyrim killers. Or why, despite every studio under the sun trying to make a GTA clone during the early 2010s, GTA alone stands at the summit today. And this isn't even an insult, by the way. Sleeping Dogs, Saints Row 2 are like some of my favorite games from back in the day. These games essentially died, partly due to poor management by the higher-ups involved, but mainly due to the fact that copying aspects of a game alone does not a good game make. Did I say that right? I don't know, but you get the point. Basically, anyone can make an open world game. You know, build a city, allow the player to roam around freely, drive cars and do missions. On the surface, that doesn't seem that hard at all, but what makes games like GTA and Cyberpunk so compelling? The answer is world building. A vast open world is in and of itself a character. All the way from the people who inhabit the world, the simple conversations that they have, the lives that they live.
Careful. Some dangerous folk around here. Make sure you get home safe.
To the trash and dilapidated buildings contrasted by lavish skyscrapers and supercars. Pair this with great writing and you have a world which people feel excited to immerse themselves in, whilst looking forward to every new side quest and random encounter. This is the secret sauce to a great open world game. But even in the very wealthy hands of NetEase, there is no guarantee that the world of ANANTA will fall on the side of compelling, rather than just be a backdrop for the 1 billion hidden chests that will be scattered around the world, so OCD demons like myself have something to complete on day one. Okay, but I can hear you already. What about Genshin or Wuwa? They are also massive open worlds and they're still wildly successful. And to that I would say yes, but they've employed a tactic in which 90% of their open world is just landscapes, with small points of interest dotted around, and then the other 10% are handcrafted hub towns where everything is usually very well done. ANANTA, having set their game in a modern adjacent world where seemingly the majority of the map is a sprawling city, and the main mode of transportation is not gliding, climbing or flying, but vehicles and roads, you have to really painstakingly ensure that the streets are appropriately lively. Traffic behaves seemingly realistically. Civilians are not just the same 6 models copy and pasted 1 million times, and then the environment is somewhat interactable. This is no easy task, by the way. Like, even after all this time, Cyberpunk's traffic AI is still very broken and passable at best, but you get the point I'm trying to make. So here's the bombshell. The point I just made was merely an example. Let's remember that the GTA comparison is just one aspect of the game. We haven't even talked about the melee combat or the gunplay. We don't know how the driving physics will really feel. We saw a lot of what you could consider RP or non-story related tasks, so how will those be? The actual point I want to make is that taking aspects from any successful genre or franchise is already an extremely difficult task. But to take aspects from at least 3 or 4 different games Execute them well so that the different gameplay elements can stand on their own, while still putting your own unique spin on the game, will be a gargantuan task. One that even if you told me Rockstar was going to make this, a studio who for the most part has a very good reputation for immaculate story-based games and infinite money, I'd still be very skeptical. What I don't want at the end of the day is a game with a ton of features, but none of them fleshed out or polished enough to keep me interested. I want to look forward to the combat, I want to enjoy exploring the city, and I want to just cruise around in my R32 Skyline knockoff on a rainy night just cause it feels amazing. Because if it doesn't, why play a cheap imitation when their inspirations are just a quick download away anyways? Now it's time for point number 2, and arguably the most important thing that has me very cautious, and that is the gacha elements. The meta for gacha games is pretty set in stone when it comes to how to monetize. Characters and their equipment, usually a weapon, are the two main things which consumers will spend their money and in-game currency to acquire. Generally speaking, a game will go down one of two routes. The first type usually has a higher base rate of getting the highest rarity thing, usually 2 to 3%. This means the chance to get a unit early, or even get doubles or triples in a typical temple, are much higher, but these games have a super punishing pity system, where even if you do get the SSR, there is no guarantee that this is the one you actually wanted. You usually need to do anywhere from 200 to even 300 pulls to reach a point where the game unclinches your gonads and says, here, you can just have it, you've suffered enough. The other type is essentially the opposite, a much lower base chance, usually around 0.6%. But they will implement a pity system where if you don't get a unit within say 79 pulls, your 80th will be 100% SSR. But what if it's not the SSR you wanted? Well, the next time you are to get an SSR, you will then be guaranteed 100% to get the one you wanted. Generally speaking, most bigger open world Genshin style gachas have adopted some variation of the second method, and I expect ANANTA will follow suit. Now that I've explained that, I also now need to let you know that apparently, according to them or some trusted sources, the gacha for ANANTA will not include characters, just outfits and cars for now. Hold on, this is massive, right? Every new character is now free. This is huge news for my free-to-play boys and girls out there. Costumes and cars don't really matter anyways, woohoo! But wait, I've seen this all before. And while on the surface it does sound amazing, the underlying consequences of a quote-unquote generous gacha system can be very destructive in the long term. I'm a pessimist. Every time I've seen a game try to be overly generous with their gacha systems as a ploy to drag players in, they ultimately pay the price in some other aspect. We can take the most recent example of Etheria Restart, a game that I managed to dodge but one my brother played. The gacha system was widely touted as extremely fair. They would give out tons of pulls, they would remove any of the 50-50 aspects, so once you got an SSR it was guaranteed to be the brand new one you wanted. Even more, they got rid of weapons as well. This was a free-to-play player's wet dream. But here's the catch. They instead decided to add an egregious equipment system, which meant that you had to grind like it was your job to get good builds. They also decided to make events, a thing where you usually can earn rewards to help level up and build your characters, into an RNG nightmare, where if you wanted all the rewards, you had to either get super lucky or pay money to get it all. Whether they have fixed it now, I don't know, but this is just merely an example. The publisher NetEase are pretty famous for their free-to-play, grind like hell to win, and pay to make that grind faster model. A model which drives players away just as fast as it brings them in. One which is ultimately very unhealthy and unsustainable. Look, right now we don't know what the game will be like on release, what the daily gameplay loop will be and how easy it will be to build up your characters or anything like that. The trailers and even the gameplay trailer, which we've all seen, are really just 30 to maybe 50% of what the game will be. The other chunk of the cake will really determine how this game will fare when it releases. Everything I've said so far may seem like I am some kind of hater, but I assure you I'm not. All this comes from a place of excitement. I really want this game to succeed. If the boys and girls at Naked Rain can deliver a game that matches even half my expectations, I will be a very, very happy boy. Oh, and if there is anyone listening, please do actually make an R32 Skyline as a car. I will pull for that, please. And that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you very much for watching if you managed to get this far. Look, am I dooming, or do you agree? Or did I even miss anything? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed, please do like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.